Page 28, Olympic Games. This piece looks ugly, don't it? 2 pages long. They're getting longer and longer. All right, let's talk about it. When you first look at a piece, sometimes you think, oh, good grief, what am I getting into? Well, you just got to kind of take it a piece at a time. That's why when I learn a new piece of music, I have a particular way I approach it, a particular set of steps I do to help me learn the music. And I just follow that with everything. You'll develop your own steps, but for now, we're using my steps because they're my videos. At the top of the page, on page 28, they're introducing you to a new symbol, a C, the letter C. C stands for common time. It was used a lot back at way hundreds of years ago. They would use it instead of the 4/4 all the time. It means 4/4. It's the same as 4/4. It's like the most common time of signature there is. You just see it all over the place. I'm liable to say either one in my videos. Common time or 4/4, they mean the same thing. Now, some people have tried to say, no, they're not exactly the same. Go away. They're the same thing. Okay. Now let's look over Olympic Games. Common time or 4/4 time. 1 sharp, we're still in the key of G major. Make sure you can do the scale for G major. 1 octave up and down. I got a video on it, blah, blah, blah. You've heard it all before. Okay. I want to take it one hand at a time. Make sure we have the notes and the rhythms and all. The beginning, you have the chords. You have a G chord, the 1 chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. During the rest you come up. It's the G chord again, but now it's in first inversion. Okay. And then at the end of that, during the rest, you come back down here. Second line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and cross over. Just cross over. Relax. 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 If you'll relax, your hand will move. It'll move quite a ways, actually. If you don't have to, oh no, I can't do this. Yes, you can. Just relax. It's right here. You don't have to move the hand. Leave the hand where it is. Just move it. You're just here. It's just for 1, because I still want a little finger on the D. Now it's a D, an F natural. Relax. It comes. Here, we changed hand positions. Now we're here. Then in the 3rd line, just lift up. So I played it with a thumb for the end of the 2nd line. Then the 3rd line, it's 2nd finger, same note. This is very common fingering style in music, and we're going to use it a lot. When you have repeated notes, like here, we have 2 E's. We changed fingers on the notes to let us change hand positions. We take advantage of repeated notes to change hand positions. That's what we're doing here. We're in this position and we want to be in this position. Well, we have 2 E's, so we're doing it there. Because there's other fingerings we could use, but this is good. I like this. And then the 2nd line, or 2nd measure, it's an E flat. And yes, both of those E's are flatted. Remember, the accidental, the flat, applies for the rest of the measure. So that other E is flat. But in the next measure, it doesn't apply anymore. So now it's an E natural. Reach up. So we're not exactly in a 5-finger position. We're going to start getting out of that. So you're allowed to, whatever the music tells you to do, that's just what you do. Page 29, you're up here. G chord. And then the next measure is C chord down here, and then a D. Okay. 2nd line. This is like the 2nd line on page 28. Okay. 3rd line. 3rd line is the same as the 3rd line on page 28. It's not quite so long anymore, is it? Because it's just the same stuff. Then the last line. 2nd measure, the last line, you're here, and then the G chord. First inversion G chord. So when you tackle this, you sort of understand what's going on. It's not quite so bad, I hope. Left hand. Well, G chords, 1 and 2. Here, you're just staying here. In fact, you're staying here, in the next line, you're just G chords. Until the last measure, and then it's a G, C. And then the 3rd line is There's different fingering styles. People teach different fingering styles. You learn different fingering styles, whoever. The fingering in the book is the fingering style of whoever did it, the editor, the author, whoever. But I don't like here on the last line on page 28 going from the second measure to the third measure. You're using little finger both. There are times in music we have to do this, but if we don't have to do it, let's not do it. And we don't have to do it here. So we're going to adjust the fingering. I adjust fingerings a lot. Yeah. I'm starting out here at the beginning of the line. Here, this is fine, but I don't want to stay here. I want to prepare this. So what I'm going to do is, in the second measure, I'm going to scrunch up and put thumb on that. Here, thumb. Now I can reach it. So the first measure I'm here, and in the second measure I'm here. Because this allows me to reach this. Now if you want, in the second measure, you can, instead of the third finger, you can actually come down to your second finger if you want. And that makes it easier to reach the D. If you want to do that. We're kind of crawling around here. I do a lot of crawling on piano, so it's here. Again, first measure, the third line is here. Then thumb. And now I'm ready. Rest. Rest. Then at the last of the third line, you're here. At the next line, the top of page 29, you're here. It's an octave down. So I recommend for the half note at the end of the third line on page 28, rather than second, use thumb. This way you just reach down to the octave. You're ready to go on. We set up. We get our hand in position for what's coming. We do this a lot in piano. So in the last measure, page 28, we're here, thumb, use thumb there. And now you're ready to go on. Not so bad, I hope. And then page 29, 1 and 2 and 3, and during the rest come up. Don't forget the F sharp. Rest, rest, rest. See, those are octaves. We're just in position. Just stay there. And then during the rest, you come back up and do what you were doing before. In the third line of page 29, I finger it the same way as I did the third line on page 28. Then the last line on page 29, the page 29, yeah, that's where it's a scale. Rest. Then go ahead and on the last two measures, go ahead and do a thumb, thumb again, and then here. That we get this a lot in piano, and that's fine. You could have done it here, 4 and 5, or 1, 3 and 5, or 1, 2 and 5, or 1, 1 and 5. Pick one and stick with it. Put the hands together, or chords. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, rest. Then the right hand comes up. Get the idea. Second line. It's 1 and... Never mind what it sounds like, just play it. See, it eventually resolves, or the I'm playing one hand, I'm getting the other hand in position. Get the idea, I hope. You go through and put the hands together, then go through it a few hundred times or whatever and get rid of the hesitations. So it's a steady beat all the way through. Then we'll add in the articulation, the staccatos and slurs, legatos and stuff. I'm hinging at the wrist here, as in short. 1 and... And if I have time, my hands are on the keys and I push down and bounce off. Each time I put the hands back on the keys before I do the next one. Now in the eighth notes you don't have time, you got to do that. But make it a small motion. And then in the second line, the fun starts. You connect these. So it's a little bit of both, but in the left hand, they're all short. At the same time, can you connect this and staccato this at the same time? Get the idea? So you go through and put in the staccatos and the slurs and stuff. Then we add the dynamics. Well, the first line is F, forte, and it's going to be both hands. There's no real melody here, just a chord. Whatever you think loud is. Not really super loud, just loud. Here. And then the second line, you come down a little bit to just sort of loud. And this is for the right hand. The left hand's got to go all the way down to soft. We don't want see, three notes can drown out one note easily, so you got to get way down. The left hand is very light, soft, soft, and the right hand's a little heavier. Then when you get down to the third line, the first measure is still moderately loud. The left hand's soft. Then now you're soft. It's an echo of that. The left hand's very soft. Then go up to moderately loud, like you were before you got soft, like the first measure here. But the left hand's still soft. Then on page 29, now it's the left hand that's gets it, and the right hand's got to come down a little bit. This moderately soft. This is soft, moderately soft. Come up a little bit, just a hair. A little louder, louder. Now you're moderately loud like you were at the second line on page 28. And the left hand is soft again. Now at the last line, you're moderately loud here. And this is both hands. There's a retardando there, an RAT. The beats gradually slow down. Okay. There's a crescendo to get louder. You go from moderately loud up to loud. Moderately loud. Loud. Now loud. The last chord, both hands is loud. They have a little pedal there. I don't recommend it. If you want to put in the pedal, that's up to you, but I would suggest leave it out. And the reason is because when you add the pedal like that, it adds the overtones. It changes the tone, and it changes it quite a bit. And we don't have any pedal anywhere else. I don't want to add it at the end. Then we think about the speed. Well, it's a march. Left, right, left, right. Right, left, right. Left. Yeah, that's fun. It's got to be accurate. So you find the hardest part in it, like maybe at the bottom of page 29. How fast can you do that accurately? 1, 2, left, right, 1 and 2. And that'll be your speed. Now I haven't talked much about musical forms because they keep pointing out the form in these pieces and I'm not covering it. So briefly, the form. You have sections in music. Section A, Section B, Section C, whatever. Well, also, an introduction is a section, and a coda is a section. An introduction is just, it's not really part of the piece in most cases, it's just setting the mood. Here, they've labeled it, the introduction is the first 4 measures, and they put the double bars. Remember, the double bars is a musical symbol to indicate a section. You're finishing one section and starting a new. Double bars. But they don't have to. They didn't have to have double bars at the end of the introduction. It doesn't affect how you play it. It's just how it's set up and analyzing the music and all that. So we have an introduction, and then section A are the next 2 lines. So forth. And then section B top of page 29, that's a different one. See, the melody is changing slightly. And then it goes back to section A, and then a coda at the end. And a coda is just a tag or an afterthought, a final thought at the end of a piece. It might be separated with double bars, it might not. In a lot of pieces, the coda is extra. You could leave it out. So you could end the piece at the end of the third line there if you wanted to. You're over, but the coda is an afterthought. It's stuck on there. Now in some pieces, the coda is you can't leave it off. It's a very important part of the piece. You got to include it. You have to figure it out. And playing the music, does the coda sound like it really needs to be there, or does it really sound like just an afterthought? That's the form. I don't talk a lot about it because it doesn't really affect how you play it, at least not at this level. Now I also don't talk much about interpreting the music. You see, at this level, most piano students, including me when I was here, we were just trying to get the notes and the rhythms and the fingers to work. And that's all we could handle. So all you think about is the mechanics of it. You just got to play these chords at this time, and I'm playing them staccato or long, and that's all I'm thinking about. It's just very mechanically. Which notes do I push down when? You got to get past it. You got to get to the point where you're playing this nicely and evenly and comfortably, and then you start getting into the music itself. And when you can start feeling the music itself, that's where the magic happens. That's where the interpretation starts happening. You start feeling the natural accents. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, as you're playing it. As you're learning it, you don't have time for any of that. You're just trying to get the notes and rhythms. But once you've learned it, you start getting into it. So think about natural accents once you've learned it. Don't just, all right, I think I got these notes and rhythms pretty well, let's go on. No. Once you got the notes and rhythms pretty well, now you're ready to actually learn the piece. And that is get into it. That's my march tempo. If you don't want to march that fast, you don't have to. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. That's fun. You have to make it yours. Don't copy me. You make it yours. Just try and get to where you can get past the mechanics and start getting into the music. I'd like to play it with you slowly. Let's double check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do any dynamics. I'm going to play it all about the same, both hands. But you should be playing the same notes I'm playing at the same time. Even if you have to just do one hand at a time for a while, that's fine. But let's try it together just to check your notes and rhythms. I'll give us 4 counts. 1 and 2 and ready and go. And 1 and 2 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. And 3 and 4 and and. One, rest, three, rest. Two, three, four. And three and four and one and two. One, two, three, four, one.